Hi, and welcome to the latest episode of the Sky Careers podcast. My name's Mark Hodgson, and it's my pleasure to be your host. I'm also the co founder of Sky Careers. And this month, or this episode, it's my pleasure to bring to you, I think, our first owner of an airline. And today, as a guest, we've got Phil Garcia, who's joining us from WA, and he is the owner director of Maroomba Airlines. Phil, welcome to the Sky Careers podcast. Fantastic. So I always start in the same place. Take us back to a very young version of Phil Garcia. Where did you go to school? What did you study?
Yeah, I was born and bred in Kalgoorlie back in 1971. Lived there for a couple of years, and then I was spent another 10 years out in Kambalda in the nickel space there. So my father was the electrician. I think he was the only electrician back in town then. So yeah, school
Sorry,
wasn't really.
Phil. Sorry, just to interject. So, can you explain to our listeners who aren't sort of cognizant of the geography of Australia? Can you tell us a bit about what Kalgoorlie means and where it is?
Yeah, Kalgoorlie's about 650 kilometres east of Perth. It's in the gold fields, the gold region of the gold belt there. Yeah, very big mining town. So yeah, even back in the 70s, it was very busy time, and it always has been. So, and then Kambalda is just a small town, about 50 kilometres away. But yeah, mainly around Western mining workers. So that's sort of where it is. But yeah, Dad was a general electrician, just doing household and commercial. Yeah, I sort of grew up in that, which played a lot into sport, football, cricket. I was big into motocross, and still am actually. So that was my passion in my life growing up. Until I was probably 19, 20, I sort of stopped that. Yeah, school played. That wasn't a high priority back then. If we had a state title on, then Dad would say, "Come on, don't go to school for the week. We need to train." So.
Go,
And I'd be
Dad.
like, yep, no worries. So, yeah, so that we were there till about 84, and then a few family setbacks, and we ended up moving to Perth. And father passed away in about 84, so I was pretty young then. And I kept racing motocross, and as I said, into my late teens there. So that was going to be my job. That's all I wanted to do from a career perspective, but 3 knee reconstructions later and broken bones and arms and wrists, and you kind of go, yeah, maybe I've run out of talent somewhere along the line.
Talent.
So, yeah, so it was like, oh, I need to go and find a job. And lucky for me, my brother, he was a pilot with Network Aviation back then with Lindsay Evans. So he said, maybe come sweep the floors. He was getting his aircraft, I think, maintained out at Jandakot there. So I was always had a mechanical background, loved pulling engines apart. So I was always good with my hands. So yeah, just kind of knocked on the door and got a job, sweeping the hangar floor and making the engineers coffees and getting parts down the road. And then I thought, no, it's a pretty good industry to be in. Not one I'd ever thought of, to be honest.
And how old
Um,
are you? How old are you here?
I just finished year 12, so I was I was nearly 17, just turned 17 at this stage. So yeah, and I thought, well, all I can do is ask for an apprenticeship. So I asked a guy called Graham Woolcock, who owned Woolcock Aircraft Company at the time, and yeah, I asked Graham for an apprenticeship, and a month later I'd started. So did 4.5, 5 years with Graham.
And so that
Um,
the apprenticeship was as a.
it was as an aircraft maintenance engineer. Yeah, so that's back then we did block TAFEs, 2 weeks, block sections. But yeah, you learn a lot of it on the job, and doing an engineering apprenticeship in the 80s is probably a little bit different to how it is now. So it was just do the job and don't say too much about it. So fantastic mentors. I think it really did set. When I look back now, it really set me up for where my career is now. Well, there's still guys I speak to now. 30 odd years later that still help me out every now and then when I've got a question. But yeah, so I finished my apprenticeship, and I had to do, and it was a struggle for me to do all my CASA exams. That did not come easy at all. My comprehension and understanding of what CASA asked for exams and what I thought the answer were very different for a while. So I had to retrain my brain. But
Learn to bend.
oh, it was, and I could do everything with my hands, sheet metal wise. We did engine overhauls, landing gear overhauls, not a problem. So eventually I learned a little bit more about physics and theory of flight, which I find so fascinating now and still love it today. Yeah, so by the time I'd finished my apprenticeship, I'd got my CASA license, so I became a lamie, which was a pretty big accomplishment for me from what I was previously doing, of not having any idea of a career.
Yeah. So, and how old are we now? So you are a licensed
I was probably 21,
aircraft maintenance
22.
engineer. Sorry, at 21, 22.
Yep,
Fantastic. And
yep.
and you're in Perth. You're at Jandakot and then around.
Yeah, out of Jandakot there, and then I thought, oh, I'm going to go and work for myself a little bit. So I started up Garcia Enterprises, and I worked for a guy called Rob Poynton, who was rebuilding World War II fighters then out of
Wow.
Jandakot as well. So that was great, awesome sheet metal work and just fantastic part. It was an awesome 3-4 years what I did with Robbie, working with a lot of great talented engineers,
What were you working?
rebuilding.
What kind of aircraft were you rebuilding?
They were the T6, the Harvard T6s as
Yeah.
well. Rob had his Sea Fury there, which was just a fantastic machine. I think I'd gone just as the Mustang arrived, but it was mainly the T6s.
Lovely. Yeah, I was just literally 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I was up at Scone, just outside of
Okay.
Newcastle, and they had
Yep.
the Warbirds over Scone show. And I was there on the Friday doing a careers day, and unfortunately I couldn't stay. I had a great time with the kid talking about aviation, but I was hanging out waiting to listen to a Merlin engine because I'm being English and Spitfires and all that. And there were none of them were running on Friday, so I was so disappointed because there's something about those aircraft, that generation, the innovation, the beauty of some of the. I mean, I know they're war machines and they are, but some of the engineering and the creativity and just the craftsmanship is stunning, isn't it?
Yeah, it was good. We were putting new engines in it with the Pratt & Whitney engines, and then it was just a good way to learn all your systems. We're rebuilding whole hydraulics pipe work and avionics, putting new avionics in it. So it's much as taking it back to original. But yeah, just learnt so much. It was fantastic.
So how old? So you're about. I'm doing maths. So you're about 25 now, and you've already you're doing your own business.
Wow, I was just a subcontractor. Let's put it as that. So
hey, let's build it up. You're a sub.
I did have to learn about provisional tax pretty quick, I can tell you.
What you mean? You don't keep everything in your bank account?
Apparently not.
So
yeah, and then we were still doing line maintenance, for companies. Karratha Flying Services, we were looking after their fleet of aircraft they had up there, and that was through Graham, my boss I did my apprenticeship with. So, and then Graham and I teamed up. He sold his business, and then he and I teamed up, and we were doing all of Karratha Flying Services work, which they had Barons, 172s, Navajos, that sort of thing. So we had a hangar at Jandakot there we were just leasing, and we were doing like his heavy maintenance as well for him, as well as his line maintenance up in Karratha. So we did that for 3 or 4 years as well. And then flying all around the state, doing all sorts of maintenance wherever we could, up in Broome, rebuilding the aircraft they were operating out of there for the Paspally Pearls and all that sort of stuff. So
we've had the Paspally guys as guests on the pod. They're beautiful aircraft as well.
Yeah, it was just, again, it was a lot of sheet metal work and a lot of attention to detail. So it's one thing I did learn during my apprenticeship is that the small things, if it looks right and feels right, it generally is. So attention to detail, it's something that still is in my system today. It's probably one of my bugs when it doesn't happen. So and then eventually I moved up to Karratha it would have been nearly to 29-30, and I was chief engineer up there for Craft Flying Services for a little while. Yep, that was Craft was another great spot. You're looking after 8 or 9 aircraft almost by yourself at one stage, and yeah, again, really good to get out of the city, and you do learn a lot more being away from a main base. It's fantastic. So,
And
then
did you have a team at that place at that point? It was just a small team, or pretty much
it was the original owner, Dick Pym, and
yeah.
myself, and then Graham would come up from time to time, and we used to get engineers up when we needed them. But just the dayline stuff, it was mainly just Dick and myself, Richard. So he was a pilot, but also got his engineering license as well. So
Yeah, because one thing that shines out through your story, Phil, is both camaraderie but also teamwork. It seems to be such an important part of aviation, because it's a system, isn't it? And ultimately, the aircraft doesn't fly unless it's airworthy and signed off and got all the paperwork and everything. And there's so many people in that chain who are necessary, and anything in that chain that isn't done right, the thing doesn't take off, or it takes off when it shouldn't take off, which is another problem. And that teamwork aspect of aviation is just firstly, it shines through to me and all the people I speak to on the Sky Careers podcast, but also it seems to be such a valuable thing. It's such a life skill as well, and such an important part of why I think aviation is such an exciting industry for people to join.
Yeah, it is absolutely, and it's teamwork, but it's also jumping in a field that you're not probably comfortable with all the time, and so because it's an engineering defect, it doesn't mean you don't go across and help operations to help resolve the issue with the client. And so there's a lot of crossover between different departments as well.
Yeah.
So it does give you that mindset to go, look, I don't have to just worry about me here. I've done my engineering bit. Don't worry about the rest of it. So, and that's something I've learned probably since taking on Maroomba. It's a lot. There's a lot more other departments involved than just engineering. So.
We'll get to that bit. So let's fast forward, because before you came on, you told me you've been on the tools directly and indirectly for I think over 30 years. You said so. Join the dots from where you are up as the chief engineer at Karratha Flying Services to becoming the owner director, or an owner director, I'm not sure yet, we'll find out, of Maroomba Airlines, because that's a big leap.
It is. So
like Richard Branson.
Not quite. So left Karratha and came back to Perth and worked down here for a little bit, and then basically I was working just for an engineering company 9 to 5, and it wasn't me. It's not how I can operate. So my mind's going a little bit too quick for just doing that at the moment. So myself and another engineer started up a company called Premier Aviation out at Jandakot, and that was basically it was just a necessity for us to keep motivated, I think, and that was a fantastic business. We had Karratha Flying Services work to start with, and then eventually we got the Police WA South Australia and NT Police Air Wing work. Became the service centre for Pilatus Australia. We were doing work for Maroomba back then, even when Steve Young owned it, and we were doing a bit of stuff for Network. We were helping out the RFTS, so it was just a good size MRO at Jandakot. Again, we got the engineers we wanted. Some of the engineers that were my mentors when I was an apprentice, so they came and worked for me, which was just something that I never.
How did you go about managing people who obviously older than you and who taught you a lot of what you know? How did you find that?
Yeah, it was challenging at some engineers, but most of them, they just wanted to work. It was such a great environment to work in. We had apprentices, we had guys from 16, 17 through to their late 60s.
Beautiful.
And I don't know, it just really gelled well. Everyone got in and did the work, and there was none of this. There was no hierarchy of, I'm a director and this is what I do. Everyone was on the floor working, and it was really good fun. So
yeah, I bet it was. It sounds amazing, and it's funny, isn't it, when you're working, and I know you work long hours and you're problem solving, but as you say, literally on one floor, both literally or in a hangar, literally and metaphorically. there's lots of life stuff goes on as well, isn't it? But I'm sure some of the old hands are able to give some of the young guys a bit of life advice.
No, they were really good, and it was such a pleasant surprise that they'd come and done that for us as well. They could have stayed where they were, but they wanted a bit of a challenge in their life too. So it lined up perfectly.
Love it, love it.
Yes. So we had that for 10 years. And so that went from I think it was about 2002 to 2013, I think we sold it. I sold my half to Paul Montalban, who was my business partner at the time. And then, yeah, I came home and I was probably a bit burnt out then, to be honest. Life, we had Steph, my wife, obviously been married at this stage, and we had two kids going through school, and they were, I think, 10 and 8. And I came home and I said, business is sold, 2 weeks, pack the house up, let's drive around Australia.
Oh, amazing.
So it was a good one for us to get back together as a unit. I just missed too many birthdays and all that sort of thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I just wanted to live a life in board shorts and surfing and mountain biking, and we did that around Australia for about 8 or 9 months, looking for a new place to live. I didn't really care what I went into, whether it was mining. I didn't want to get back into aviation, to be honest. I had enough.
I think we all know how this story ends.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, we ended up driving around Australia, and we've always had friends in Dunsborough, and we ended up settling, bought a house in Dunsborough, and
Where's
that's where we.
Where's
So
Dunsborough?
Dunsborough is down in the southwest area of Margaret River, around that region.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
that's in
Busselton.
WA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
WA. So beautiful country town and great lifestyle. So Steph, my wife, went to work full time, and I played Mr. Dad for about 6, 8 months. Took the kids to school, and don't worry about school. We'll go surfing in the morning. I'll drop you off later. I was turning to my father. Um, but it was such a fantastic time, and it was getting that family back together. People talk about it and they don't think it's that we'll do it. And I guess I was lucky. We'd sold a business. We didn't have money issues to
Yeah,
worry about paying bills.
yeah.
It does, but that break, even if it's for 6 weeks, is so good. It was fantastic.
Yeah,
So
you're so right, Phil. It's so easy to, and I know a lot of our listeners will be probably a bit younger than probably for this advice. I'm not sure, but it's so easy to lose sight of that, isn't it? Especially when you get consumed in your career, and
absolutely, yeah,
especially fixing stuff, because a 3-hour job turns into a 6-hour job, and it's not done till it's done, and you get home late, or you're tired, or you leave early, and it's so easy for that to become a way of being and a habit. And suddenly, as you say, what happened to birthdays and anniversaries and holidays? And it's so easily done, with the best of intentions.
I will. The funny thing is, even when I first met my wife, which we were at 19, I think I met her at 19. We were married at 23, I think. I said to her, aviation comes first. And she was like, what do you mean? I said, if you ring me or contact me and I'm putting a prop on the aircraft, I'm not going to leave a nut hanging off with a spanner and going, I've got to go. I've got to finish the job. If that's 2 hours, it's 2 hours. I said it. And this was part of the apprenticeship. It was like, it's so critical. I just couldn't leave a job half undone. As long as I got to the point, it was like, great, sign it off, do it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, Steph's always not taking the back seat, but time's always expanded long. If I say it's an hour, it's
Yeah.
probably a good 2 or 3 hours. So she's come to grips with that over the years, and it's done a few things without me along the way, gone on holidays, and but I've learned. I have reeled it back in somewhat.
Good for you. Good for you. So bring us up to. So
Back into that. So
how did we become the owner director?
yeah, it's I probably after about 6, 8 months, I was starting to go a bit mad. I just thought my brain wasn't used to not being engaged for so long. So I actually did get into an import-export business out of China for a little while with another friend who I went into business with for a few years. So that was a bit of fun. It had nothing to do with aviation. It had to do with a bit of pet industry and fitness industry I
Yeah.
went into, but it wasn't my passion, and it made me really tick. Like, I miss aviation so much. And look, at the end of the day, Maroomba, Steve Young wanted to sell it, and it was an opportunity to get back in it. So yeah, it was just a pathway to jump back in it. I knew I could do it from an engineering side of things. Steve didn't have his own engineering at that stage; it was outsourced, and I knew I could bring that in house and make it very efficient. Done it before a couple of times, so
And
that's sort of
I'm
where it
assuming
happened.
I'm assuming that's a big. Sorry, I'm sorry to overspeak. I'm assuming the engineering and maintenance and the compliance that's a big cost of an airline. Yeah, massive element of cost.
It is. It really is. Outsourcing your maintenance. Sometimes it does work well, but I guess having toys that we now were buying Dash Eights, the Havilland Dash Eights that we operate, and not being able to play with them, well, I found very frustrating. And I couldn't go and work on them and do line checks and heavy checks on them. So it was more of a good peace of mind for me. But yeah, it's a cost saving for the business, 100%.
Yeah. And when did you buy the airline, Phil?
That was late 2018. We bought that.
2018.
Yep.
And what was and so I should say that we've already done a Sky Careers podcast with Laura Benger, who's your CEO, and she talked to us, and so people can refer to find out about the current operations and the current fleet. But for 2018, what was the fleet then when you bought
I
it?
think we had one Dash 8 and one that wasn't doing a lot of work. 1900 King Air. We looked after the government jets at that stage as well. We did the flying for them for
Yeah,
the Department of Cabinetry there. So we had a couple of Hawker 900s, one with the RFDS as well. But that wasn't what we specialised in. We specialised in mining charter. So
yeah, yeah,
and where they wanted to go is not where we wanted to go. They wanted a nice FBO, and at the end of the day, we just needed a terminal to put our passengers through for our clients. So just it was probably not something we wanted to have happen at the way. COVID kind of hit, clients go out the door, but we also picked up a lot of work too. So it was a good transition for the business.
So,
But
you had a good COVID in a sense, did you?
yeah, it scared us there, obviously, like as it did a lot of companies. But we were very proactive during that stage. We got the tent set up. We had medical staff. We put screens up almost within the first week and a half, 2 weeks. We were good, and we just got busier and busier. As you know, the mining scene during that period just grew. Yeah, it was a stressful week or two, but it came out really well at the end of it. We learned a lot from it. A lot of our policies and have been driven out of that as well, procedures. So it was a good thing. But yeah, Maroomba now is I'm a 50% owner with my director Mike Evans as well. So it's just the two of us in the business. Mike's a pilot. You might want to do a podcast with
Love
him
to.
later on down the line.
I get the full set then, don't I?
He's got a fantastic story on his own. So yeah, and we just gel really well together. So it's sort of developed along that line. It's like every business. You go through a few CEOs. They all contributed quite a fair bit to the business in their own way. But the biggest change for us was culture in Maroomba. We needed a culture change, and that's when Laura jumped on board and we gave her the direction of what we wanted, and she fits what we need to do or what we want to achieve for the business, and we're very much aligned that way. So it's great, and to get where we are now without her would have been a struggle, I reckon.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
just we've got enough aviation experts in the business as it is. So bringing somebody else in who's a little bit more on the mining side, but definitely culturally understands change, it has been a significant difference in us.
yeah. That do you know? And I congratulate you there, Phil, because as I said, we and I do refer everyone to listen to the pod we've already done with your CEO Laura. But I mean, wearing my non-Sky Careers hat, as I'm an executive mentor, I do a lot of business advisory stuff as well. And the wisdom of your leadership to understand when you need other leaders to lead your business. There's so much wisdom, and that's so uncommon. You see a lot of people that either determined to do it themselves or thinking thinking they've got all the answers, and the wisdom say, you know what, we know we want to go, but we need new leadership or different leadership or a different voice often or a different perspective. So Laura obviously comes from outside aviation, and we talk about this in the podcast as well. She's a woman in a quite male heavy industry, and that's important as well. But I congratulate her. I think that's incredibly wise, and I know you're already seeing the benefits. So well done.
Yeah, no, and it's taken a good 18 months to transition through. So, and I've got a daughter that works in the business. She runs our operations department now, Lauren. So,
Oh, great.
and her story is
Family
not much
affair.
different than mine. It's she wasn't very academic.
Well, she had a
But
delinquent dad who kept telling her to go surfing.
I know. So, and that's what she wanted to do growing up. So, even her story that she's come into this role now, she started on the front desk at Maroomba, and when she's transitioned through to operations, it's all just through hard work, being very resilient. It's just, yeah, it's impressive to see. And Laura's helped coaching her now through that whole
I can
process, which is fantastic.
I can hear a few quiet
Yeah.
hands. I'm sure guiding. And I'd love to have a chat with Lauren as well, because she's got the blessing and curse of being the boss's daughter.
Yeah, well, we're lucky. Mike and I are stepping out of the business quite a bit, so I'm not on the hangar floor that much anymore,
Yeah,
or very rarely. We've
but
got a couple of big.
you're still for that. Yeah, but it's still not a mystery
Oh, I
who her
know,
father is. And I say
I know.
in lots of businesses. I mean, and I know you're not a family business. I'm not trying to make that parallel, but you do see some really weird and wonderful things in some businesses where you go, oh my lord, that's not good. And I'm sure you've
No,
not got that going on, which is great.
no. Well, we want our staff to be accountable for their roles, and my wife's a flight attendant and check-in trainer as a cabin crew, so she's got to be accountable for her role and her people as much as everyone else is. So no one gets a free pass, I can tell you. So, um,
I love it. So I'm conscious of time. We could
that's
talk
okay.
for hours. What so talk us through. So what, as an owner director today, and I know you say you've got line responsibility, also stepping. What's a typical day in your world look like right now?
I guess waking up in the morning, making sure the aircraft status is all up to date and the aircraft are flying is probably it, right?
Yeah, Foo.
Yeah, that's all good. Yeah, look, I'm comfortable where the business is with the leadership group we got in there now. I've got full faith in that they see our vision and want to run that out. So I don't ever think that, are the engineers doing their job? Where are we at with cabin crew? What are the pilots doing? What's our operational staff doing? We've got the right people there, so that takes a lot of weight off my plate. So at the moment, the big one is acquiring new aircraft. So we're getting into the Q400 market. Or if it's a Q300 the client wants, I'll go and source the world for the aircraft they need, and I'll go and do pre-purchase inspections on them, organise all the C checks, the heavy checks that have got to get done.
Sorry, I've got to ask my non-aviation expert question. Would these be new aircraft, or no, these are used aircraft?
Yeah, used, yeah, second-hand
Pre-loved.
aircraft, pre-loved, and we get them all up to spec and recertified again up to our standards, and into our livery as much as possible. And then, yeah, so that's what I'm focusing on a lot at the moment, because that it's a special project, and you can't expect to drag people out of the business to run that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've got contacts now all around the world in our field. There's not many people Dash 8s I don't know that aren't for sale or going for sale at the moment. So yeah, we got some fantastic support with other companies around the world. With de Havilland, they're great. And other companies through Canada that are able to steer us in the right direction when we've got a no question. So that's it. And obviously Mike and I speak a fair bit, and he runs another part of the project team that he does. So yeah, we work well together. Work separately, but together as a whole for the whole business, really.
What's the part of your job you least like?
Sorry, what was that?
What's the part of the job you least like?
Probably having aircraft here that aren't flying.
What's that doing on the ground?
Yeah, there's not much that keeps me awake at night. Like I deal with my stress, I think, a lot through the fitness side of things. I'm very active on, whether I'm cycling or going to the gym. It's a good way to release it, my emotions out through that way.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Yep. we talk a fair bit about business at home and try to keep that pretty civil at times. But yeah, I don't know. It's I think I love it all too much. It's just something that I do, and probably one thing we really want to do. We're starting up a maintenance repair organisation as part of Maroomba as well. So we're going to start doing heavy checks on the Dash 8 aircraft, which is it's probably a good 12 weeks worth of maintenance we do. So we've formed a really good alliance with Qantas for their apprentice program.
Okay, nice.
Yep. So we're helping them do their apprenticeships, just getting a bit more experience and a little bit of mentoring shit with them, which is they helped us out last year. It was such a fantastic way to reconnect back with the younger guys, um, and I don't know, we've got to get more people back into aviation at the end of the day. We're all getting older, we're all going to retire, and it's been a common thing since I've been in aging engineers for the last 38 years. So being able to get apprentices in, but getting people into aviation, you don't have to be a pilot, from day one going, "Hey, I want to be a pilot." We've got people that have come through that have been ground staff that have now transitioned to be a first officer on the Dash 8. So they've come in, seen how it works, and go, "Yep, I want to train and go and be a pilot." Well, they'll go and be a cabin crew. So you don't have to come in with the expectation that you've got to be a maths genius or a physics expert. You can actually learn it along the way. So those introductory steps is something we're really trying to promote in the industry. That's a little bit of a passion at the moment.
I love that. And again, it's a big part of what we do at Sky Careers. And I think one of the things that strikes me, as I say, I'm not deep in the industry. I have an understanding of it, but I don't work in it day in, day out. Unlike my business partner Sue Ann, it's I just think it's such an exciting industry. It's so broad. You can come into it, as you said, you can come into it through many doors. And
Correct.
even if
Yeah.
you don't really know what you want to do, I mean, it's a sexy industry. It's interesting. Even today, if a helicopter lands in a playing field, I mean, we all look at it, don't we? We don't just, there's helicopters. We've seen 1,000
Absolutely.
helicopters or aircraft taking off. There's some magic around the industry. And I think the other aspect that is something we're talking about more now. I mean, we're hearing about AI, artificial intelligence, and how that's disrupting a lot of roles in other industries like technology, which I'm seeing in some of the other work I do. And it just strikes me that so many of the roles in aviation, they're kind of AI proof, because aviation, having gone through, we mentioned it here, having gone through COVID, where essentially a whole industry was shut down for 18 months. So the businesses that now exist, they've done all the cost cutting and the shedding of staff and automating and systematizing pretty as much as they can. So the jobs you're talking about, they're long-term jobs. They're not going to be rendered obsolete by AI. And I think that's across the board. There's so many aviation roles which provide great opportunity. They're good fun. They're good. Yeah, that they are people working together, which I think is so important in a world where too many people spend most of their life looking at a phone or a device. It's such a good industry, and you are you're the poster child of a guy who misspent youth, going surfing or whatever when you should be at school. Didn't fly through school. Didn't do a STEM degree. Didn't do any of that, but kind of you know fumbled, stumbled, just kept moving, ended up starting and found yourself on a hangar floor, said, "Oh, that looks kind of interesting. I quite like engineering. I quite get my hands covered in oil or whatever." And you took the first step. And now here you are, 30 something years later, you're an owner director of an airline. And everything around that, you've learned leadership skills, you've learned entrepreneurial skills, you've obviously got your technical skills, and you've built stuff that didn't exist. I mean, I think it's, as I'm making a general point about aviation, but I say you are a really good example of where you can go just by putting your hand up and having a crack.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's it's surrounding yourself with really good people, intelligent people too, right? I'm not an accountant, but you've got to have faith and have a basic understanding of accounting, I guess. But you do rely on other people to help you get through navigate it. What our vision is definitely got to have the key people there to see where we want to go, and it's how we treat people too. Back in the day, I guess when I was doing my apprenticeship, you were told how to do something, and it may not have been politically correct back at the time, but
Yeah.
I'm very aware you just can't do that anymore. So there's other ways to do it. There's other incentive programs. Learning that's been a massive learning curve through my career, right? I've had to transition through that, even when I look at when I owned Premiere to what I do now, I'm probably a very different person and engineer to what that is. So, I'm always big. If I can wake up every day and learn something from somebody, then I'm the better for it. Some days it doesn't happen, but we
No,
give it
no.
a go.
I hear you. Well, Phil, hey, listen, I'm gonna land the
Yep.
plane there because so we've gone for 35 minutes. I told you it'd be a 20-minute conversation.
Yeah,
Well, there,
thanks.
there you go. That's us. We said we're 20 minutes, and here we are, knocking on for twice as long, and we haven't got home yet. But I'll finish with this last question. What advice would you give to other young men and young women who are considering a career in aviation?
Yep. I guess it's that everything's really possible. You've just got to ask the question. You've got to, and say, just come in if you want to be an engineer. What options are there? Or you want to be a pilot or whatever that way. It's about just taking that step of self-confidence in what you want to do and an idea that what you want to do in your life, I guess, will happen as it goes along. But just you just got to knock on doors and get out there and speak to people and present yourself and communication is such a big thing,
Love it. Love it. All right, Phil. Phil, hey, all the best for the future of Maroomba. I have little doubt that you're going to continue to prosper. Having met your CEO, and just hearing some of the principles, the leadership principles, everything you're espousing, I think you're absolutely on point, and I have no doubt you're going to absolutely continue to build great things, enjoy success, but most importantly, I think enjoy the process of success, because it's money's one thing, but I say building a team and building an airline and creating something that people want to be part of. I think it's a real gift.
No, absolutely. No, thanks very much. And it's a pleasure that I could share my experiences and hope it motivates other people more than anything. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Phil. Thanks so much.
All right. See ya. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Sky Careers podcast. If today's conversation has sparked your interest in aviation, then head over to our website at skycareers.com.au. Whether you dream of flying aircraft or you're curious about the hundreds of other exciting roles that keep the aviation industry moving, Sky Careers is your gateway to discovering these opportunities. And if you are already in the industry, check out Sky Careers Connect and Sky Careers Leadership and consider joining our online learning community. Until next time, keep reaching for the skies.